When
All
will
right,
you learn that I don't do this without recording? I don't just talk about wrestling for free.
yeah, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of the Three Falls podcast. Matt, do you like that introduction? That was your typical podcast radio show intro. What did you think about it?
Well, it was okay. I'm usually expecting more things for you, or you try to make me think of something to respond to.
Yeah, I know, but that it just became to the point where it was unfair for you, so I just stopped. Why? Did you want one? I could grab one out of thin air right now.
Sure.
All right. Wait, here. I am going. Let's see. Give me a second to pull up a timer on my phone. I got one right now, okay? You got 10 seconds to list as many members of NWO Hollywood as possible and go.
Hulk Hogan, Scott Hall, Kevin Nash, Conan, X-Pac, Virgil, Buff Bagwell, Scott Steiner, Scott Norton.
You're past 10 seconds, but keep going.
All right. Oh, I'm past 10 seconds.
Yeah.
NWO Hollywood.
Stevie Ray, sucker.
Stevie Ray, yes, the disciple.
Disciple. Who else was a member of NWO?
Horace Hogan.
Kurt Hennig. You said Kurt Hennig, right? Correct?
No, I didn't. No,
Rick Rude?
Kurt Hennig. Rick Rude, yeah.
Remember, Kurt Hennig was part of the NWO Wolfpack, and he defected to NWO Hollywood.
He turned on the Horsemen in War Games.
But he also in Conan match because he was part of Wolfpack.
Right. Yeah.
So what you're thinking of is when he first joined the NWO, but later on he was a member of the Wolfpack for a brief amount of time, and he turned on, I think it was K-Dog.
Oh, Conan. Yeah, that was against Goldberg, I think.
Yeah.
Was it not? Yeah. Great American Bash.
Sure. Yeah. So.
God, why do we know this stuff?
You did. Mathematics. Who cares about that? Who cares about history? Let's focus on professional wrestling, the stuff that really matters in our 30s and 40s.
Sure. All right. Well, let's start off today with some sad news in the wrestling world. Bullet Bob Armstrong passed away.
Oh, I did not hear about this.
Yes. Bullet Bob Armstrong passed away yesterday at the age of 80. He had battled bone cancer, I believe, for at least a year. They released a statement earlier in the year that he was foregoing treatment and wasn't going to pursue chemotherapy or any other treatments. And he was still working out and in shape up until recently. And he passed away at the age of 80. And a lot of tributes. WWE's put out a statement for him. For those that don't know, Bob Armstrong was a big territory wrestler in the South in particular, going back to, I think, 1960. And he wrestled his last match at the age of 79. So he was still working up until he got diagnosed. So he passed away. He does have a lot of lineage. All his sons became wrestlers. Scott and Steve Armstrong, most famously the Road Dogg, and probably the most underrated wrestler in wrestling was his son Brad Armstrong. And he has passed away several years ago too. Not much to add to that, but just wanted to make sure we got that Armstrong had passed away.
Wow, that's very unfortunate. That's very sad news. Obviously, we all know about Road Dogg and his lineage and what he did in wrestling. But his one son, who was the one that was a referee? Was it Scott or Steve?
Yeah, Scott.
Scott, yeah. I just want to say I really liked his son as a referee. It's a shame that he's not with WWE anymore. I don't know when that stopped, but I know it's been for a while. But I always thought he was really good. Now I know like in 2002 was his last appearance with TNA. Oh wait, no, 2005.
Yeah.
Oh, I just gotta keep scrolling Wikipedia because I no, seriously, I remember. Here's why I'm looking. Okay, there's a method to madness. I remember watching him involved in a pay-per-view, an Impact or TNA pay-per-view in the later years, and I'm just trying to find out what episode or what is against all odds in 2006. Yes, because he was teaming with Kip James or Kip James. This fight to yeah. I don't know. I just know that he was involved as late as like 2008, 2006 with Impact Wrestling.
Yes, he was the on-air commissioner there too, I believe, at one point.
I don't
think
remember
in his Silent days.
Okay. Yeah, the Silent days. But I'm talking about later on, like towards like 2008, 2006 Impact when the James Gang was there,
Right.
aka New Age Outlaws, right? He was teaming with them against LAX. I just remember that. But that's very unfortunate news. He left his mark on the business. He's one of those. I would say he's one of those silent guns of the business, kind of like a Bob Eaton. Someone that a lot of people might not know the name or whatever, but the people that they worked with and that they were involved with became the bigger names.
You know how you got the name the Bullet?
How's that?
So he had a face injury, like it was a broken, something like legitimate injury, but they used it in an angle, took him off TV. But so as the Bullet, and then when he unmasked later, he just kept the name Bullet Bob Armstrong.
Ah, didn't Dusty Rhodes keep the what was he, the spider?
The Midnight Rider, baby.
The Midnight Rider.
Actually, just a quick trivia on that. Do you know where Cody Rhodes got the Stardust name from?
Wasn't Dusty known as Stardust?
That's correct. You are correct.
You know how I know that? Because I remember reading a PWI from back in the day where they were like Goldust versus Stardust. And it was Dusty versus Dustin. Yeah, that's how I knew that.
All right.
I'm not just another pretty face,
Moving on. So, some birthday. The first one.
Ooh, my favorite part of the show. Every week I look forward to it. To see who has birthdays.
August 27th is Jazz's birthday.
Jazz. How old is Jazz? I'm going to ask you the age.
She was born in 1973.
Okay, so she's 47.
Yeah.
Look at that math for you. How do you like that?
Here is one of your favorites. Unless you have any thoughts on Jazz before I move on.
Not really. I mean, I liked her in her run in WWF. Not so much ECW.
Okay. Most recently, she was working with the NWA before the NWA Power Show started. She was the Women's World Champion for a while.
Isn't she bald now?
Yes.
Yeah, that's correct. I remember seeing that.
She did do that. She did that AEW appearance too. She was in that Battle Royal before All In last year.
Yeah, I think that's where I remember seeing her, where she was bald. I was caught off guard.
Next birthday is one of your favorites, the Great Khali.
Yeah, I wish we had some Indian music to play right now.
The Punjabi Playboy, 1972.
Oh.
All right.
He's almost 50.
Yeah. There you go. Next one.
48.
Legend. WWE Hall of Famer. Sergeant Slaughter.
Oh, the Sarge. How old's the Sarge?
He was born in 1948.
48. Oh, wow.
72, I think.
He's getting up there.
Still looks the same, though. Like, you see pictures of him.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit smaller. He still looks the same.
He's on my bucket list to meet.
He follows me on Twitter. I don't know why, but he does.
Oh, that's a restraining order.
And we'll do birthdays. We'll do birthdays for the 29th. See if there's any interesting ones here. Sin Bodhi, the original Sin Kazarni. His birthday is the 29th.
How old's this guy? Because this is someone I would guess he's probably. Let me guess. Let me take a guess. I would say maybe 45 or 47.
Born in 73.
Yeah, look at that.
So a couple more. Stan
It's
the Lariat Hansen.
Max Mini's birthday.
Nope. Stan Hansen.
Stan Hansen. The eyeball
Border,
plucking,
Texas.
lariat throwing, original Japanese badass cowboy. How old is he?
Born in 1949. 71?
Do you know?
All right.
It make him 61, 51?
71, I believe.
71. Yeah, I guess he wouldn't be 51 or 61. What's that math for you?
One throwback theme on here, and then we'll move on. It would have been George Scott's birthday. He was the old booker for WWF, Jim Crockett Promotions. He was a wrestler with his brother Sandy in probably the 50s and 60s pro wrestling. So just that's the only other recognizable name I have for the 20. So that will wrap up the birthdays today. What I thought we'd do today, PWI 500 was released.
Oh, yeah, I saw that.
All right.
So are we going to go through all 500 participants?
No. We'll go.
Who's number 500?
No. We'll go through some of the top ones, and then there's some names we know later in the list. So
I really want to know who's 500 though by the end of it.
I will tell you.
Because you know that's a prestige spot, right?
Who's the most famous 500?
I don't know. I couldn't tell you. I couldn't even tell you who the most famous number one was. Maybe The Rock. But the reason why, okay, I'll give you the story of why it was always explained to me that 500 was an important, aka prestige spot, because whoever got the spot 500, everyone would always look at 1 to 10, blah, blah, blah. Maybe scatter the 20s or whatever, but when you're thumbing through a magazine, you always look at 500. And so you always see that name. And when you see that name, you kind of remember it. And because of that, that guy would probably get extra bookings. Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. So you know who number one is?
John Moxley.
John Moxley lands at number one this year. So keep in mind, they have criteria that they use to develop these lists.
How much money?
Win-loss record. Exactly. So they go win-loss record, technical ability. They have like 5 or 6 categories. Obviously, this is a subjective list. So, I mean, there's probably a few people you could actually name number one on this list. But this year they named John Moxley number one. Number 2 was Adam Cole. Baby.
So wait. Do you agree with John Moxley being number one?
No.
I don't agree with that either. I don't think he had it's not like the greatest year. What? Because he won the AWA or EWA or what is the AEW title?
AEW. I think, and I could be wrong in this. See, AEW, there's a couple things I'm going to say. Them having a win-loss record right on their website is probably going to help rankings for the PWI 500. But I think they're also more accessible for these media publications than, say, a WWE would be. Just how I kind of look at it. Because, I mean, if I'm looking at the top 2 here, I would say Adam Cole had a stronger year than John Moxley.
Yeah.
I mean, so Jericho's number 3. I mean, Jericho had a big presence on television. I mean, he lost the title, January, February? But he was strong at the end of last year with AEW. AEW. So I mean, I don't disagree with him being maybe in the top 10, but top 3. They got Drew McIntyre at number 4. So I mean, again, this list is pretty subjective.
It's very subjective.
Naito's number 5. Okada's number 6. Cody, Seth Rollins is number 8 and is number 9. And AJ Styles is number 10.
Okay, so
would you move any of those around?
I would move a lot of them around. Like, we don't have enough time to go through.
I
got a question for you. For you. Okay? Who would you put number 1? Who do you think had the best year?
Adam Cole.
I could agree with that. Is there anyone else that you think would be ahead of Moxley?
I mean, in AEW alone, I would have Cody higher than him, personally.
Yeah, I think Cody had a better year than Moxley.
Yeah, I mean, I'd have to think about the whole year, because what were we in August? So
you got to think about last year too, right?
I know. Like, I'm thinking last August till now. I mean, AJ Styles had another good year. I mean,
I could say AJ.
Go ahead.
AJ, another guy.
It's hard to argue. Just underneath. Okay, let me give you the next 10. Keith Lee's number 11. Brock Lesnar's number 12. Kenny Omega is 13. Roman Reigns is 14. Nick Aldis is 15. Bray Wyatt is 16. Kota Ibushi 17. Rush or Roosh.
Rush to LaRue. He's still wrestling?
You're funny. Braun Strowman is 19. And Jacob Fatu is 20. Well, that's a big spot for him, too. So, I mean, that's interesting. It's I don't know. There's no way you can do this list without any scrutiny. It's almost impossible.
No offense to PWI, because you know what, I read PWI growing up, I loved it. But my question is in 2020, is a magazine is this list still credible?
I think the 500 will always be popular, but other than that issue of the magazine, there's nothing else in a wrestling magazine I would want today.
Yeah.
I used to buy the 500 when it came out. I have a few issues of it. And
I used to look forward to it every year.
Yeah, and I always thought it was interesting because they'd have 500 people on the list and there'd be lots of people that you didn't know. So you could look through it and see who's the next person.
Yeah.
Who's the next crop of talent that's coming through. I like that better than the top part of it. So, I mean, you should be able to round out the top 15, 20, maybe 25 in wrestling because it's the people that will be highlighted on top.
Yeah.
This year they changed it a little bit. They included women in the 500.
In the overall 500?
Yeah.
So let me guess, did Tessa get the farthest spot, number 1 spot? Because that's who I think. See, she would. You know what? As much as we, talk about her and all that, she should have been in the top 10. If you're going to do a list like this, she should be in the top 10. Because for a woman becoming the first ever recognized world champion of a promotion, why would you not put her in the top 10 for A, breaking the glass ceiling, and for B, the year that she had for winning a title?
I mean, that's
something like that makes sense to me.
I mean, you do make a compelling argument.
I always make compelling arguments.
I think that, and I'm not knocking Impact, but unfortunately, I don't think the magazines favor Impact or look at them favorably. So a lot of times they don't get that just due for anything good that they do accomplish. So, I mean, who was number 1 when they were in Impact? It was the only number 1 that was ever in Impact. Was
it Samoa Joe?
No?
I thought Samoa Joe was number 1 at one point when he was with Impact.
No. The only number PWI 500 was AJ Styles.
All right.
So, I mean, which is was a monumental accomplishment for him at the time. Because how often do you see anyone highly ranked from some of these companies that aren't like looked at like as like the top tier? Not that they don't have good talent or have good matches, but not very often do they rank their stars very high in these lists. But Tessa, I believe, is the highest rated female on that list.
What number is that?
83.
So
I'll double check, but I don't think there's anyone else.
Okay,
that's that
because
high.
after that, I want you to look at who's number 500, because even though you laugh at it, that's an important spot. You laugh, but I'm serious.
No, not at the. I'm laughing at the name at 500 because it's awesome. I've never heard this name before.
Usually they are. One year they had a wrestler named Shockwave the Robot at number 500.
So are you ready?
Oh, I was born ready.
Number 500 is Dan the Dad.
Wait, I think he wrestles around this area.
Really?
Yes. Dan the Dad. I think he wrestled like in Kitchener or something like that, or for Smash, or maybe I'm getting him confused with another wrestler actually.
Wow. I'm not sure.
You are not sure?
I am not sure. I have not heard that one. We'll just give a couple shout outs here. So our friend Tyson Dukes is on the list.
All right, what number?
He's been on a few times. He is number 342.
All right.
You know, that's a testament to Tyson. He's been on the list. I don't know how many times he's been on the list.
I would like to go back and see how many times consecutively he's been on this list. I bet you he's been on it from probably the last 20 years.
I can look it up.
Oh, no, don't bother. It'll make for boring radio time.
And I want to give a shout out to a friend of mine, Kerry Awful, who's an indie wrestler out of Tennessee. He made the list at 423. Just I believe his first time on the list. So
nice.
I've known him for a long time. He's an awesome guy. I just want to make sure he got a shout out for that. So, you know, it's hard when you're an independent wrestler. Anything you can get for any kind of notoriety does help. PWI 500 obviously been around forever. So I mentioned on the list. You know, we could say what we want about it. We could say what we want about it not being that big a deal, but you know, it is still an acknowledgement that you're a known person on the list. So
well, before we end this subject, I did some research while we were yammering here, and you asked me at the beginning who were the top names that were at 500 on the list. So I went back and I found the top names of who was number 500 on the list over the years. Are you ready?
Yes.
2018, Puff. You know who Puff is, right?
Oh, Puff.
Yeah, Puff.
Yeah.
Yeah, Puff 2018. There you go. Number 500. Are you ready for another one?
Yeah.
2015.
Yeah, go ahead.
2015. Space Monkey.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, you know who these people are, right?
I do.
Because they get more bookings when they're at 500. I'm telling you, number 2014. You want to know who was number 500 2014? An international star, Gradle.
Mm-hmm.
He's on Scottish TV right now. He's like in some soap operas.
Well, he's been in a lot of companies, but yes, he's a known entity.
Let's skip some years here, okay? 1991, number 500, Tiny Lister, Zeus.
Oh boy, he was 500.
He was 500. All right. Here now we're getting into the top ones. Here's the top ones. Ready? 2003, Charles Wicks.
Charles Wicks.
Yes.
I don't know who that is.
I think he was one of the dicks in WWE.
Oh. Well, there's quite a few of those.
All right.
Hey, go ahead.
Okay, I got three more. 2001, Pepper Parks.
No.
Yeah. You're not poo-pooing on this 500 spot, are you now?
I wasn't necessarily.
Ready? Ready for this one? The most notable name, okay? The most notable name. 2005, Nick Namath.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
All right. And then number 1993, number 500, Garbage Man.
Duke did the Jersey?
Yeah. Because, listen, the storied rumor that I heard was that when this came out, someone in WWE is like, well, who's number 500? They looked and it was like, oh, Garbage Man. And as a joke or whatever, they looked into hiring him and he got hired because of it.
Wow.
So next time I ask you who's number 500 before you smirk, laugh, and poo-poo on it, you tell me who that is. So Dan the Dad, we'll be talking about you in 5 years.
I'm gonna follow. I'm gonna find this guy's social media. I'm gonna follow. We're gonna put him over.
Him be on the WI 500 at number 500 is game put over enough.
Hey, so just before we move on, I just want to read some of the past PWI 500 winners. We'll just run through them quick because some are kind of telling, and some are like, really? So 1991 was the first issue. Hulk Hogan was number 1. 1992, Sting was number 1. Back-to-back winner in 1993 and 1994 was Bret Hart.
Oh, of course.
Yes.
95 was Dean Malenko.
No. 95. 95 was Diesel.
Oh, close. I was very close. They wrestle very similar style.
1996 was Shawn Michaels.
Was Dean Malenko number 1 at one point?
1997 was Dean Malenko.
Ah, there we go. Are you sure you didn't get him confused with Diesel? Because I make that confused all the time.
1998 and 1999 was Stone Cold Steve Austin. 2000
The Rock
was Triple H. 2001 was Kurt Angle. 2002 Rob Van Dam. 2003 Brock Lesnar.
I like my 500 list better.
2004 Chris Benoit. 2005 Batista. 2006 and 7 John Cena.
The Rock was never number 1?
Nope.
Wow.
And 8 was Randy Orton. 2009
DJ Gabriel.
Triple H. 2010 AJ Styles.
That is the one that you were talking about with the TNA.
Yep. 2011 was The Miz, which I never did figure that one out. 2012 was CM Punk. 2013 was John Cena. 2014 was Daniel Bryan. 2015 was Seth Rollins. 2016 was Roman Reigns. 2017 was Kazuhika Okada. I can never say his first name.
Kazuka.
2018 was Kenny Omega. 2019 was Seth Rollins. And then 2020 is Jon Moxley.
Hopefully Roman Reigns gets next year.
Well, we will talk about him today. Just one note before we move on to anything else. So up to 2018, and I don't know about 19 and 20, but up to 2018, there's only one name that was do you know who that is?
If I'm going to have to guess, I'm going to say Paul Roma.
From 91 to 2018.
Yeah, Paul Roma.
You're close. It's actually Jushin Thunder Liger.
I think that's Paul Roma under a mask.
Maybe. He did have a nice dropkick. And just one other note, there was one woman ranked in the PWI 500 until they separated the list.
It wasn't China. I want to say it was Beth Phoenix.
No.
Who was it?
Jacqueline.
Yeah. Miss Texas.
So that's exactly what she was put in as, Miss Texas. So, yeah, that'll be the PWI discussion for today. It is an interesting concept that's still going today. So, hey.
So do you think Here's a question. Do you think they went with the AEW guy because they appeal more to that audience?
I think they probably went the AEW route because it's new and topical. Is my guess. Because if I'm looking at it objectively, and this isn't an anti AEW thing by any means, Moxley does not strike me as the best wrestler of the year. And and that's not knocking him because I'm not saying he's not talented or anything like that, but he's not the name that jumps out to me as wrestler of the year.
Why? Where was Becky Lynch on this list?
She's not even on the list that I saw. Let me double check that. If I'm wrong.
Because she headlined WrestleMania last year. Maybe that would be last year's
Hold on.
list.
I don't see her on the list.
See, how do you leave Becky Lynch off of this? Because even she wrestled up until what, March?
Yep.
So you don't even put her on because she's pregnant, or like because she's not wrestling, or she's not on TV because she's pregnant. She was the number one female in wrestling last year, and depending on when this magazine's where their start date was, she would still be on that list. She would still be the hottest woman in wrestling, and not even just woman. She was the hottest wrestler in wrestling at one point.
Yeah, no, she was massively over. See, here's the thing. I don't understand this. So I'm going to tell you. Okay, I found the women that are on the list. Okay, and just for full disclosure, in this article it says you won't find the likes of Becky Lynch, Charlotte Flair, or Asuka on the list.
Why?
I don't know.
So who's on the list? Name the first 5 women or whatever.
So women who compete exclusively or almost exclusively in women's divisions promotions won't be ranked. Oh, I think they're looking at intergender. They will be eligible 100 lists. I don't like this. I think this.
Yeah, because they have their top 50 women list they put out too every year.
I think it's 100 now.
Regardless, okay. So, if it's intergender, then okay.
That's stupid.
I understand that.
All right, so here's the women that are on the list. And Tess is not even the highest one on here. So at 78, Kylie Ray is the highest. And then Tessa at 83, Allie 10, Faye Jackson at 160, Maxie Impaler 254, Solo Darling 318, Willow 94, Ruby Reyes 3. Seeing if there's anyone we know here. Ashley Fox 471. I don't know any of these other ones that are on here, but I don't know. I don't agree with that because if you're looking at, to me, you should be looking at who the biggest names, draws, who are prominent on shows. I don't know, because in all honesty, I would agree. If we're talking Becky Lynch, she was more over than a lot of the guys.
Yeah. And if you were going to put intergender, I don't understand how Tessa is not number one. Right. I honestly don't. And I'm not the biggest Tessa supporter, but you got to give the devil her due. I mean, how is she not higher? Or the number one woman on the list, or the highest woman on the list? See, nothing. I mean, like you said, it's all subjective. Nothing against PWI. I grew up reading it. I used to want to write for it. You know, yep. I respect all the writers. You know, their thing. It just makes me wonder. In this day and age, in 2020, when you come out with a list like that, it's almost like writing your own epitaph.
Yeah, I don't know, man. It is subjective. There's no question. Let's move on. Let's go to some. Let's talk some shows from last weekend. So, obviously, we were pumping up last weekend big time for NXT TakeOver and SummerSlam. I'd like to roll into NXT TakeOver.
All right.
So the good part, what I like with NXT TakeOvers, it always has a cool feel to it, and they're not crazy long shows. So I believe there was 5 matches on the show, and the good part with TakeOver on the network, they give them a lot of time in the match. So we'll just run through some of the matches, talk about them a little bit. So the show started off with Finn Balor The pre-show had the tag match with Breezango. I can't say their name. I'm sorry. You know what I'm talking about. And Danny Burch and Oney Lorcan. So I didn't have any notes on that match, but
I don't have notes either
this
because I didn't
match,
watch it.
the saddest part of this match is that Mike Punga picked the winner to the match that he picked Breezango to win, and you and I both picked Joaquin Wilde and Raul Mendoza from I can't say the name of the group. I keep forgetting.
Well, I know what question I'm going to ask you next week when we start the show.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I just want to say Punga's pick does not count because it was on the pre-show.
Yeah, I like the way you think.
Yeah, it's like a warm-up, right? It's like it doesn't really count.
Well, and plus he brought that match up about 4 matches into the preview, so he's disqualified from that match. So the first match was Finn Balor versus Timothy Thatcher. Pretty cool styles clash of a match. The more I see Timothy Thatcher, the more I really like him. He's got that old school look to him with the mashed in teeth. He looks insane. I love his facials in the match. He had a lot of and transitions to submissions. Not much more to expect from that. I knew this was going to be a good match. Finn Balor has been on so many takeovers. He pulled out another win with that 19. It's pretty devastating looking move. He ended up pulling out the win in the match. Do you have any thoughts on the match itself?
I just want to say I like that this match wasn't a typical Finn Balor match. And by that, I mean there's lots of mat wrestling, a lot of holds. He wrestled Timothy Thatcher's style, and it's a side of Finn Balor that we have not seen before in WWF or NXT or WWE or whatever the heck you want to call it. So I really like that. I like that they went for something different, something new, a new feel. So as for like the winner in that, I could really care less who would have won that match. I don't think it would have really hurt either guy. It was a good opener. Unfortunately, I guess this type of match, some fans really like it and other fans don't. That's the only downfall to trying to do a match that's like pure mat wrestling, that you get a large portion of the audience that fit in mat wrestling, so it equals out.
Yeah, and the other unfortunate part in this is you and I both picked, and I believe Mike Punga picked Finn Balor, so that's terrible.
Mike Punga, the Prophet.
That's right. Another match for the North America. Damian Priest had a pretty cool entrance, as always. He came out in Shawn Michaels' influenced attire, which was interesting on him. So it was a interesting look that he came with. Reed had teased he was going to have gear inspired by a WWE legend, and he came out in Bam Bam Bigelow inspired gear, which I thought was awesome.
I like that.
I have to say, the more I see Cameron Grimes, the more he's becoming one of my favorites in wrestling. He is so ridiculous. Like an old school type heel. Just listening to him like ramble, like even on the way there, he is unreal. He is unreal.
Oh yeah.
He's really found his niche in NXT. There was some cool spots in this match. Grimes in particular, there was a move where he was on 2 ladders and they separated the ladders. He was doing the splits between 2 ladders. It looked ridiculous. A lot of cool. Bronson Reed, this guy could be a big star in the WWE. His size, his power, the way he moves. He is very unique, like his look and like the way he can move. I was really impressed with him in this match. I was happy with the finish. I'm a big fan of Damian Priest. I think you and I both picked Damian Priest to win that match.
Yeah.
So I was satisfied with this match. And I have to say, Damian Priest has the best after-match celebration of anybody I've ever seen. I don't know if you caught that later in the show.
Hot tubbing.
Yeah, hot tubbing. He had his Jeep, and then there was a hot tub beside it. I don't know how that works, but can't knock it. We're gonna move on because I really want to talk about this match. Adam Cole versus Pat McAfee.
Yeah.
So I don't think anyone quite knew what to expect in this match. Pat McAfee, if he wanted to be a full-time wrestler, I think he could be a full-time wrestler.
Hands down.
He, even just from a character standpoint, he was unreal. His promo before the match, I don't know if he was turning Adam Cole babyface, but even for me, with listening to him talk, I'm like, man, I'd want to punch him in the face. So he was excellent, like in this entire match. Like I don't think people realized, and I didn't, how good of an athlete Pat McAfee really is.
I mean, he was a professional athlete for
Well,
8
he was,
years.
but he was a
Well, more than 8
punter.
years.
He was a punter. I wouldn't say that he probably did a lot of strength training and things like that, but a punter to me, obviously you work out and you're in shape, but I think he could be a gymnast or like something like he was unreal. The big spot in the match was Adam Cole and him were on the top rope, and Adam Cole pushed him, and he did a full backflip in the center of the ring. Then ran to the corner and did the Lance Storm spring to the top rope.
Yeah.
Landed that, and then superplexed. I mean, I nearly jumped out of my seat watching this. I couldn't believe what I was watching. Adam Cole put at one point had him in the figure four, and I made a note of this because Adam Cole did the whole like the old school figure four thing where he's grabbing the foot and he's reefing it back and he's got the
Yeah.
head going, and I'm like, this is like crazy. And then they're getting later in the match, and Adam Cole is beating him down. And he's like, he goes, it's over now. This is where, and then he ends up finishing with the destroyer, the Panama Sunrise. I wasn't finished, but I liked how he went in this match in terms of like a heated match, like an actual rivalry. If there was a crowd for that match, I mean, you would be able to sink your teeth into this live. The fans would have elevated that match even higher. But this might be, it's got to be one of the best matches of the pandemic era, and I can't believe I'm saying that.
Wow.
I
don't know if I would go that far.
Well, there's another point I want to make on this because it came out that apparently they called most of this match in the ring.
Really?
Yes.
Well, all he had to do was listen to the crowd.
I'll say this. Before WWE, I was not the biggest Adam Cole fan. I thought he was good, but not in that great level. He's on another level for me now. Like even before this match, like he just keeps out. If that story's true with them calling that in the ring, Adam Cole might be he might be the best worker in wrestling. Is that how many people call matches in the ring? Let alone somebody that has their first WWE match live in the ring. That's just crazy. I mean, what do you got any thoughts on the match?
No, I thought it was good. I mean, not as great as you thought it was, but I thought it was good.
I thought it was excellent. I thought this was excellent because I expected something good, maybe a little out of the ordinary, but it exceeded my expectation. We can go to the next match. Dakota Kai versus Io Shirai. I really like this match too. It was physical, good storytelling. The more I see Raquel Gonzalez, the more I like her too. She did powerbomb she does is disgusting. I love it. Io Shirai, if she's not she's got to be in the top 3 women's wrestlers right now in terms of work in the ring. This match was fantastic. Dakota Kai as a heel has been fantastic. at the end, there was a showdown with Rhea Ripley and Raquel Gonzalez. And then there's a shot at the end of the match where Io is in the ring with the title, and you see Rhea Ripley in the background just looking at her from the stage. And it was cool foreshadowing because obviously Rhea Ripley's got to be in the main event or the title picture at some point. She hasn't done anything since she lost the title.
Yeah.
Any thoughts on that match?
No. It was a match.
It was a match. And we go to the main event. Karrion Kross versus Keith Lee. Kross's entrance is worth just watching alone. I enjoy that. And that's the most cinematic I'm gonna get for stuff that I like, because I like the whole presentation with Scarlett singing the song and everything. I think that's pretty cool. This match was pretty physical. For a big guy, Keith Lee can get sympathy, which is really hard to do. Because not too many big guys can do that.
Khali could.
It's insane when he's in the ring. What's that?
Great Khali could get sympathy.
Well, maybe. But I mean, he had his run on TV where he's kissing all the girls. I don't think anyone needs to feel sorry for him.
I mean, he should be kissing more girls.
I think he's married.
Yeah, well.
To a supermodel.
Well, she's a lucky
one.
one.
I remember correct. Exactly. So anyway, Karrion Kross ends up winning with like a super Saito suplex off the second rope. Looked devastating. Put Keith Lee down and ended the big run for Keith Lee. The show left with Karrion Kross being the champion. Unfortunately, that's not to last. But all takeovers, I think that again, we say it all the time on some of these shows that lack of crowd really affects the shows itself. But I still think in terms of an actual wrestling show, TakeOver was a pretty good show.
I thought it was all right. I don't think it was the best TakeOver I've seen. I don't think it's even near it. I mean, you would think that it was probably like the best ever. We got Pepper Meltzer here rating Adam Cole's matches. So
Meltzer didn't even watch that match. I listened to an interview with him.
No, I called you Meltzer. I called you Pepper Meltzer.
Thanks. This wasn't as good as the In Your House TakeOver.
No.
I thought that was, but I think it was still solid. I think in terms of an actual show, it was still pretty good.
Yeah, I think it was solid too. I don't think it was anything like to write home about. Like, I don't think this was, I won't be going back and thinking, oh, wow, remember TakeOver 30, how special that was? I won't be doing that.
I think that Adam Cole match is what people remember that on that show.
Maybe. I don't think so.
You don't think so? Why is that?
Because I think Karrion Kross's title win will be what people remember from that show.
I think it was those two matches. I think were the kind of the selling point for me, because the build up to that title match was really good, but the build up to the Cole McAfee match was also good. So those are the two that I wanted to see on the show. But I think no, it's not going to go down as the best TakeOver. But again, probably would view it a little differently with a crowd as well. It's just this is kind of where we're at, unfortunately. It's still worth watching. I'm not going to go back and watch it again either, but I did enjoy the show.
All right.
So let's talk some SummerSlam. One thing I just kind of wanted to mention before SummerSlam started, I did watch the pre-show, and they did have Renee Young on the pre-show, and they gave her a send-off from the WWE, which I thought was pretty good, because WWE historically, when people are leaving, don't do that very often. So I did think that was quite interesting that they did that. They put her over big time on the pre-show, which, I thought that was pretty nice that they did that for Renee.
Yeah.
Well, what did we have on this show?
It opened up with Asuka versus Bayley.
Oh, I'm in the wrong show.
Oh my gosh!
Oh,
great! What great journalism, folks!
I was at Extreme Rules. I was like, wait a second.
It opened up with Sasha versus Bayley.
Oh, it didn't.
No?
The pre-show was Apollo Crews and MVP. That's what I was
Yeah,
thinking
that's the
of.
pre-show.
We skipped that. So Asuka
It opened
versus
up
Bailey.
with Sasha versus Bailey.
Asuka versus Bailey.
Or Asuka versus Bailey.
Yes, so Asuka versus Bailey. Solid match. Basically, it was Bailey like sneaking out the win. I don't really have really much, to be perfectly honest with you. I don't have any notes on it, but I do know that they're keeping the monster run going for Bailey, which isn't the worst thing in the world. But it did kill my pick for SummerSlam because I had Asuka. So I was a little disappointed because I don't want to have wrong picks here.
Yeah.
So Andrade and Angel Garza versus the Street Profits. This was all you picked because you had the tag champs. Solid work by both teams. Don't really have much to say on that. Do you have any thoughts on the match at all?
Not really.
I don't think there was a lot of memorable stuff. I don't think there was a ton of memorable stuff here.
No.
So the no DQ loser leaves WWE with Sonya Deville versus Mandy Rose. So they changed the stipulation from the hair match to the loser leaves town match. Now there was speculation more so for Sonya taking time off from wrestling.
Okay, so because
to
I was going to ask you about this, why you think they did this? So
that's what the talk is, that she was taking time off because of the stalker incident or the attempted kidnapping incident. It was a pretty physical match. I think, like our friend Steve Sorensen has said on the show before, you tend to hit your friends a lot harder. So for
yeah,
these two, it's actually a better match than I anticipated. They did have a good build going into the match. Unfortunately, I think more match was more for the um, incident that happened outside the ring. But Mandy Rose wins. Sonya, for now, is out of the WWE on screen. So the next match is the one I do really want to talk about because I really want your feedback on it. Was Dominic Mysterio versus Seth Rollins.
all right.
So I want you to go first.
Well, I thought it was a really, you know what? I knew Dominic had training, like we said in previous weeks. Like you said, that he trained with Lance Storm. He went around and trained with this guy and trained with that guy. I knew we were getting a little bit more than what we thought with him. I mean, he's no Pat McAfee, like, right, Pepper? But with that being said, I thought it was a good match. It told a pretty good story. I really like Seth Rollins' gear. Just want to say that first of all, before I forget. His gear was awesome. It's Halloween Havoc, like 97. Amazing. But yeah, and Seth Rollins getting the win. I mean, sure.
I think that was the right. I think that was the right thing to do.
Yeah,
but I think
it did surprise me. I am kind of a little surprised. I'll admit that he got the win, but it was the right thing to do.
They had a good story going in this match. Like Ray's trying not to get involved in the match, and then his wife comes out, and Seth's gonna go after his wife, and it ends up with Ray getting handcuffed, and he's like helpless watching his son get beat down. I'm gonna say, for the most part, during Seth's Messiah run, I've not been big on that gimmick. I have to say this is probably the best he's kind of fit into that gimmick because I think he's probably got more to sink into on this. They really like tried to humiliate Dominic in front of his dad, and he had a run for his money in the match. Seth, the veteran, ends up taking him out, winning the match. Like I said, I think we're building towards another Seth versus Ray match. But I would say Dominic as a first match in the WWE. I mean, what more can you really ask for? He's worked with maybe the top wrestler on the show. I mean, Dominic, I think's got a bright future ahead of him. So I'd be curious to see what he does next. Hopefully, it's not against Brock Lesnar or something, but Needs a little more seasoning, I would say. But he did a good job.
Yeah. And you know, this is not going to be the last we see of Dominic. I think we're going to see a lot more.
Asuka versus Sasha Banks. So the half of my prophecy came Asuka. Asuka won the Raw Women's Championship back from Sasha. The story in the match was that in the first match, Sasha helped Bayley win the match, but Bayley backed off and Sasha lost the match because she didn't contribute to helping her. So the story was that Sasha was willing to help Bayley, but Bayley's not willing to help Sasha, which is just furthering the storyline between the two because eventually they're going to have their showdown for the SmackDown Women's Championship, I would imagine. So you can't go wrong with Asuka being the champion. There's probably not a lot of contenders, but I mean, she could really elevate people on that brand. So I think it was a good match, and I think that was the right thing to do there as well. So we'll see what happens. Sasha and Bayley still a really good storyline and act, so we'll see where they go from there. All right, so Randy Orton versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE Championship. There's nothing to complain about in terms of the work in this match. I think everybody, including you and I, thought Randy Orton was going to become the champion on this show.
Yeah.
I was surprised, but in hindsight, when I think about it, it didn't really hurt Randy because it's not like he got dominated. He just caught in a quick hold and lost the match. But I was very surprised that Drew ended up winning the match at SummerSlam. Mike Punga was right again, and these guys are making us look bad.
There's a reason why we have him on the show.
You got any thoughts on this match? It was a good match.
Yeah, it was a good match, but like, it's the same thought as yours. I really thought Randy Orton was going to win, but I don't know. I really wish they would have put the belt on him on this match. I know, you said it didn't hurt him, but at the same time, I mean, it would have been nice, and then that way Drew could chase the belt going into SummerSlam or Survivor Series and everything, but I don't know. That's just nitpicking, I guess.
Yeah, I think obviously if you've seen Raw, the feud's not done anyway.
Yeah.
So I mean, Randy's still in the title picture. I suppose like they wanted to get more mileage out of it. So I mean, we'll see what happens. Falls Count Anywhere match for the Universal title: The Fiend Bray Wyatt versus Braun Strowman. I haven't been the biggest fan of this feud. Full disclosure, it was your typical gimmick big man match. They did do some interesting stuff. They were cutting the canvas to get to the plywood in the ring and all that fun stuff. Bray Wyatt wins the title, but I think the big news out of that match was after the match, because I wasn't expecting it, and I'm sure you weren't, but it was the return of Roman Reigns.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just want to correct you. Bray Wyatt did not win the title.
I thought he did. Yes, he
No.
did.
No, he didn't. Well, Matt Pepper, don't read everything or don't believe everything you read on the internet because Bray Wyatt did not win the title.
He didn't.
The Fiend did.
Oh, sorry. Thank you for that. So the Fiend Bray Wyatt won the title.
Yes.
All right. So the Fiend is the champion, the Universal Champion.
And then Roman Reigns accompanied his teeth down to the ring and ran in afterwards.
So Reigns, obviously he's been off TV since before WrestleMania. I wasn't anticipating his return with the pandemic. He looked in great shape, obviously. We talked about that before. I have to admit I did like his new t-shirt, but he demolished both those guys, and he had a big strong attitude about doing it too. So I did have some interest in that. What did you think of the return of Reigns?
Well, I'm just going to jump to it. I think so because he came back with this new attitude. He's wearing all black. And because we didn't really see a presence of Retribution on the show, I think Roman Reigns might be the leader of Retribution, or everyone might think he's the leader of Retribution, and it turns out he's not. But in doing so, he's kind of like Sting a la WCW 1997. So with that all being said, they have teased. There was I know someone posted a photo online of a member of Retribution standing exactly like Roman Reigns, and if you remember a couple of weeks back on SmackDown, one of them did the spear. So what I was getting to is that the reason why we're seeing this new attitude is because I think he might be part of that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I kind of just played all. You didn't think about that?
No, not at all.
Yeah, I just kind of laid all the cards on the table of what I was thinking. So I think that's where it might be going.
You know, people knock the Retribution thing, and I can understand it with some of the stuff, but it's working in the sense that everyone's trying to figure out who is Retribution, because I hear different people speculated names like almost every day when somebody comes up with something.
Well, so I bet if the world was where it's at in 1996, people would be knocking the NWO.
Oh, well, they threw garbage in the ring, so I would say that's probably true. But yeah, no, I would agree with you. I'll say this too. They needed Reigns back really bad on TV. There's no question in my mind. So many of their top stars during this pandemic, and Reigns, I would probably argue, is their top male star in the company. So it'll be interesting to see what they do. They've already scheduled him in a title match for the next pay-per-view, which is actually this Sunday at WWE Payback, which came out of nowhere.
That's what they meant by the SummerSlam tagline.
Yeah. So, all in all, again, for what it was good. It's hard. Again, these shows are difficult in this era, but there was some good matches on the show. Nothing you're probably going to remember for the next little while, other than maybe Reigns. But it was. I think the show was good. I'm gonna go with the theme that you said. It's not gonna be not the greatest SummerSlam of all time, obviously, but there was some good stuff on the show, so it wasn't a complete bust. It didn't waste my whole 3 hours watching the show.
Well, that's what the one thing I really want to say about it is that it gets bonus marks because it wasn't so long and arduous. They kept it relatively short. I appreciate that.
Well, I think that's what's pandemic. Is a lot of these shows have been shorter. So it's kind of the one thing with the pandemic, they can experiment with different show time, how long the shows are. They even broke up wrestling into two, which was very much appreciated. But yeah, I agree with you. The show time itself was much better. Anything else you want to talk WWE?
No, we have the pay-per-view this Sunday. So all the TV this week is basically just building up to the pay-per-view. So us reviewing the pay-per-view next week will basically cover all that.
We should note NXT this week, Karrion Kross did relinquish the title due to injury. So it's unfortunate, but out of bad does come good, because next week they are advertising a fatal four-way, like an Iron Man match between 4 former champions: Adam Cole, Tommaso Ciampa, Johnny Gargano, and Finn Balor. 60-minute Iron Man four-way match. I think we're going to be talking about this match next week, because I anticipate it's going to be a pretty good match. I will say NXT was a really good show this week. They did have some good matches on it. one match in particular I did really enjoy, if you do get a chance to watch it, was Kyle O'Reilly did a singles match against Drake Maverick, which was on, if you just hear the names, you might not think it's that great, but it was an excellent match. Kyle O'Reilly, if they give this guy a chance to run singles, I think is going to be a big star in the WWE in the future.
Oh yeah, very talented.
Do we want to talk some AEW?
Yeah, we can run through both shows really quick. Like we don't have to go through everything, but
Yeah.
highlights.
No, I don't want to go through everything.
No, we could be here all day. We'll have a 5-hour podcast.
No.
All right, so we'll go through the major points, the major storylines.
Yes.
So let's talk first about the biggest one probably, and that's Cody losing, not Lodi.
That's Sammy Guevara's gimmick now.
Yeah, Cody losing the TNT Championship to Brody Lee, and Brody Lee just devastated Cody. This was obviously the first of the two shows.
So, yeah, I watched it. I was kind of half watching the match actually, and like before I knew it, I looked up and the match was over, and I'm like, okay, that was interesting. I don't have my only issues with it were it just seems like not too long ago Brody Lee could barely beat Marco Stunt. And I know like they built the win-loss record, but it never seemed like he had a lot of steam going into this match. And the Cody seemed to have like all this momentum, and he's going 50-50 with like if he just gets dominated. So I don't know if there's more to the story where there's an injury or something happened to Cody or what it was. It was different. I still don't know how Brody Lee got the old TNT title.
Yeah, I don't know about that either.
I found that pretty. So they had the big beat down after the match. Cody got dumped off the stretcher. I'm sitting there at first like, okay, is anyone gonna help Cody? And then they brought out like Dustin beat up and QT Marshall. I don't know if they explained where the Elite was because they've been beaten up by the Dark Order for months. I think it would have been more impactful if Dark Order hasn't beaten up the Elite like for like the entirety of the show in some way, shape, or form. I did like Anna Jay choking out Brandy. I thought that was actually pretty good. I'm funny on the angle because I think Dark Order's been a bust. I know they really want to go full tilt on this thing, so I don't know. It was kind of corny on follow-up night when they were talking about it, when they were in the ring going on about it. But I mean, to shake things up, it's not the worst thing. So it was the big story coming out of the Saturday Dynamite. They had like the big ending to the show. So what's your?
I mean, it was time to take the title off of Cody because you did have him do that open challenge, and as much as I enjoyed those open challenges, there's only so many guys you can run through or, invite in the promotion. So, yeah, Brody Lee going over, starting this whole feud between the Dark Order and the Nightmare Family. I like that. One little tidbit I liked is that Colt Cabana was not present during that beatdown. However, he was on the second week of the show. But if he was just standing there, like, kind of dumbfounded or whatever while the beatdown was going on, it wouldn't really fit the storyline with him. So I really like that caveat of, he just wasn't there. So, I really like it. I look forward to seeing where they go with this. Obviously, Cody's comeback. So,
just a couple notes from that Saturday show. They opened the show with FTR versus Private Party, and already in the ring, and then they're like, Tully Blanchard's with FTR. As much as I like Tully being with them, I thought that was a really poor introduction to Tully being with FTR.
Yeah.
I wish they would have had an entrance and then be like, oh, what's Tully Blanchard doing here? But I do like the idea of it.
It would be nice to have like a promo or something introducing him as their
Yeah,
manager.
yeah. I think it's good they have Tully with talent on the show that is on the show all the time because they don't seem to know what to do with Spears. He's hardly ever on the show, and Tully's one of the best promos on that entire show.
Yeah.
So it's a
Hey,
good.
didn't I say when they signed FTR and we were talking about what to do with them? Didn't I mention putting them in a faction with Ty Dillinger?
I'm not sure. The last
Yes,
thing I
I.
remember was that you would put Tully and Arn with them.
Yeah, but I also said put them in, team them up in like an old school faction with Sean Spears because he was doing that one glove gimmick.
That's right.
Yeah, I
That's
just want
right.
to say, I'm a genius. I'm pretty smart. All right, let's
Super
move on.
genius. Um, yeah. So anyway, they wasn't a lot else on that show. I just want to make one note on one other thing. Darby Allin wrestled Will Hobbs on the. I hope they showcase this Will Hobbs guy some more. I really liked him, and Darby Allin actually had a pretty good match with him and looked good and beat him. That's really all I have on the show. Nothing else. End of the women's tournament. I kind of want to forget that, and yeah, we'll move on to the next show.
Yeah,
So next show, do I have it up here?
started with the gauntlet. What were your
Yes,
thoughts on the gauntlet?
I'm gonna pull it back up here. So the first match was Young Bucks versus the Natural Nightmares. So I'm gonna give one critique right off the bat on that, and it's more of a booking issue that I would have. They Dustin and QT got beat down by the Dark Order the previous week. So I think it's kind of dumb that they have a match to start the show. I would think that they'd be going to look and beat them up right off the bat. So
Yeah,
later in the show, they come out to fight the Dark Order, but I think that was anyway. That's a whole other conversation. So I mean, Dustin Rhodes. To be 100% honest with you, I think he's one of the best workers in this whole company.
thank you. I don't. Oh, I wouldn't go that far, but
I
it's
said
funny.
one of.
It's funny because what I did was I turned the show on and I had it on in the room while I did something else really quickly. It was actually make my breakfast, but anyway, while I was making my breakfast, I heard Dustin, so I ran to the TV to see what was going on, and that's when I saw him. I'm like, oh, so I put it on pause, did what I had to go do, came back just so I could watch Dustin wrestle again.
I mean, if you really think about it, he's 50 years old. He's so smooth in the ring. Like he's with everybody. Those are the kind of teams that teams like the Young Bucks need to wrestle to kind of ground them a bit, because
Mm-hmm.
that was one of the better matches the Young Bucks have been in, but they're following a veteran. That's kind of how I view that. But
Yeah.
Dustin, I mean, I'm not kidding when I say he's one of the better workers they have, which is when you think about all the people they have on the run can still go at this stage of his career. So anyway, Young Bucks win the match. They wrestle. Who was the next? It was the best friends.
Best
So,
friends.
so best friends. This wasn't as good. But the whole thing with the best friends match was that Adam Page cost the Young Bucks the match.
Yeah.
Uh, I mean, it's not. It's kind of a. I don't know. I'm not big on the storyline because it's just like FTR on camera tells them that basically tries to guilt them into helping them, and then he does, and then I don't know. It was kind of weird, but they needed an out to protect FTR versus the Young Bucks. Is what I gather from that.
Yeah.
Uh,
Exactly.
I'm not. Could have been. I think they probably could have did a better finish than that. But I mean, the end result is what they needed to happen. So then FTR comes out, and FTR, like I say it every week, they're the best working tag team in wrestling. There's nobody better than these guys. They actually had a submission victory in this match, and now they're the number one contenders. They're going to all out take on Page and Omega. So I fully anticipate it's going to be a title change, the end of Omega and Page, and now and hopefully we can add that we all deserve.
Mm-hmm.
You got anything to add to that?
No, just you basically said it all.
Well, that's what I'm here for. All right. What else we got here? Lance Archer kill somebody.
Yeah, Lance Archer killed somebody. Team Taz came out. A lot of people for the show
A lot
hyped
of
the
lot
all in
of
battle
fluff for
royal.
Battle
Fight.
Royal.
Yeah.
Oh,
What do you think of?
What's that?
What do you think of Eddie Kingston's stable / friend / whatever he has going on?
I don't even know what to even say on it. It's kind of weird. Like he's gonna manage two tag teams.
It's a weird, yeah, and it's also weird that I mean, they're not as stable because I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. It's kind of weird though to put the Butcher and the Blade with the Lucha Bros. I don't know. I feel like both of them don't need to be in the spot. Like you probably could have did this with like another team or something, or just have him. I don't know. It seems off. Something seems off.
He's obviously using them for something, but it seems odd you're going to use two tag teams. Well, I don't know. We did gloss over something from the Saturday show, and I did want to touch on it here into the show. Thunder Rosa made an appearance on the Saturday show in a tape vignette challenging Shida for the AEW Women's Championship, which whenever we talk about NWA, we're both big fans of the show, and I think Thunder Rosa is a great talent. So women's division, as we note all the time, is not very strong. So this is a good matchup. This will be an interesting matchup, and I like the idea of an interpromotional matchup between two world champions from two different companies. They even had Billy Corgan on a package on this show talking about having an interpromotional match, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I am interested in that. I think that's gonna be. I don't know what they do with it, but that's gonna be an interesting match. So I'm excited about that. What do you think? You like Thunder Rosa, right? Or do you?
No, yeah, I do. I'm looking forward to it. I like the idea that it's a good thing because like NWA's not really that busy right now, so it's kind of nice to see them do some work with AEW.
Yep. Why not, right?
Exactly.
Moxley and MJF had their contract signing. MJF had a pretty good promo on this one. I've not been into the presidential thing with MJF, but this promo came across more MJF basically calling himself a prodigy and talking about like Buddy Rogers and all these guys. His lawyer's the most punchable face guy that I've seen on TV in quite a while.
I love it.
The lawyer?
Yeah.
Yeah, so they banned the paradigm shift for the match. So MJF stacking the deck to try to take the title. So I'm not big on the angle, but I am big on MJF. So, I'm still with it. I wish it was still more the MJF prior to this, but it is what it is. So I'm still down. Not into this best friends Santana Ortiz thing. We'll skip that. Yeah, your Eddie Kingston guys, like they wrestled Janela, Griff Garrison, Sonny Kiss, and Pillman Jr. I don't know what you think of this Griff Garrison guy, but I really like that guy in the ring. I want to see.
Oh yeah.
Did you see that much?
See, I was thinking the same thing about Brian Pillman Jr. I didn't really get to see too much about him, but obviously, because
They're
I
they're a team, I believe.
yeah, they're a team. That's what they said, but I don't really watch Dark, so I don't see too much of these guys. But hopefully, we'll see more.
So Dark Order did like a anyway. I did pop one thing Brody Lee because you know how the Dark Order has numbers assigned to their names.
Yeah.
He called Anna Jay the Great One, number 99. I
Nice.
did pop for that. I did pop for that. Anyway, the segment was kind of lame. He was telling people to shut up. They were cheering for him, like his own people. I don't know. Anyway, ends up being a big fight. So Dustin and QT come out to fight them, which I would have preferred this earlier in the show because I would think if you got beat up last week, you'd be looking to go right off the bat. So, anyway, it's a big fight. I wasn't too into it. Then Scorpio Sky came out and he looked awesome. Like he was. I'm really happy. I'm really into him. I like that they're pushing him. That Matt Cardona came out, which makes sense because he's Cody's friend. But I don't know where the elite is because I mean, they're Cody's friends too. But hey, it is what it is.
They got their own battles.
Oh God. All right. What did you think of the segment with the Young Bucks and Adam Page?
I think I missed the segment.
Okay. Dasha did a set interview with Adam Page at the bar, and she's asking him why he cost the Young Bucks the match, and the Young Bucks interrupted and were chewing him out, and not good promos at all. Obviously, that's not their thing. But they ended up kicking him out of the elite.
Oh, yeah, I missed this.
Yeah, it wasn't a great segment, but I mean, it's starting that hopefully that exit for Page like out of this tag team and into like a singles run. So I wonder, are they going like because it does appear like FTR and Tully that they're building a stable, and FTR talked him into screwing over the Young Bucks. So I wonder if Adam Page is going to be a part of this Tully Blanchard stable.
I would like that. I could see that working.
So the next thing was the handicap match with Rebel Penelope Ford. I have to say, every time I see Rebel in the ring, I think she's absolutely hilarious being an awkward wrestler.
I missed this segment too. I must fast forward through a lot of the show.
Well, I found that the best way to watch AEW now for me is on demand because I find some of these shows with the picture in picture and stuff drag a lot. So you did if that's the case. So anyway, Big Swole wins, and she's gonna have a one-on-one match. Short match again, which is good. They need to keep some of these matches short. Oh, they got a new member of the Dark Order. Did you know about this?
New member. Oh, Taya Contney.
Yes.
Yes, I saw that part.
I guess Jericho is against Janela next week. That's great. Sammy Guevara and Matt Hardy at a tables match. I missed a lot of that match. I did see the end. Guevara did a superplex through the table. Orange Cassidy beat up Jericho on the commentary desk, and that was pretty much it for that show. They're obviously building towards the pay-per-view. I don't know. There was some good stuff on these shows. It's kind of my thing every week with AEW. There's a couple good things, but there's a lot I have to kind of comb through on the show. Yeah, I don't know. It was okay. It wasn't great. I am looking forward to some of the stuff, some of the pay-per-view stuff with, especially the women's match. FTR going for the titles. Those are matches I'd want to see. MJF, but other than that, I don't really have any other thoughts on AEW this week. Do you have anything that we missed or want to go over?
No, I think we talked about everything I want to talk about, and then some, because obviously I didn't pay enough attention to AEW. I missed some stuff. But it's kind of in that situation where it's just building up towards All In. I'm actually looking forward to All In. I can't wait to. I kind of want to see what they do with a lot of the storylines and that they've been working towards. But I'm more invested in AEW than WWE, so I'm kind of the opposite of you.
I'm not invested in AEW at all. In a few people, I don't think the storylines are very good. But I think that
but you're also the
talent
same
that I
person that
like.
thinks the PW 500 is a great source.
No, I didn't say that. I didn't say that. I said if you're an indie worker, you're getting a bump, so it's good for those guys. I have some PWI 500s. I used to love it. It is what it is, man. Yeah, I don't know. I'm curious to see how the pay-per-view checks out. So, but I mean, I wouldn't be paying $60 to watch that show. That's not a show that I'm going to be forking over that much money for either. So we'll see. See if they can sell me more before it comes out.
It's what our Patreon's for, right?
Patreon. Oh, I forgot to tell you, I have news. A prize
Oh,
for the Three Falls podcast.
Ooh,
So we now have our own domain at threefallspodcast.com.
What?
Yeah, we do. www.threefallspodcast.com. I haven't figured out how to take the www out yet, but we do have our own web domain. Takes you right to our
the Three Falls podcast
channel.
Is it a 3 or the number 3?
Number 3.
Checking it out. Nice.
So you can now find us on our own domain. Eventually, we will probably move to more content on an actual website, but right now we have threefallspodcast.com. And
all right, so Three Falls Podcast. So that's www.3fallspodcast.com. So you can always find the latest show there, or you can find us at, where else, Matt? Where can you find us? YouTube, Twitter.
Twitter, Facebook. You can listen to us on every podcast platform now. You should be able to find us.
And if you can't, tweet Matt and tell him.
That's right. Tweet at me, Twitter me, whatever the case may be.
He's a workhorse. I'm just a pretty face. He brings the ugly men living in the basement, and I bring all the cute young girls. That's how the dynamic works.
Wow. What does Punga bring?
He obviously brings the intellectual, and he brings the predictions. He knows everything. He beat us both on predictions, so he's obviously the knowledge part of the show.
Wow, man, how times have changed.
I'm just old.
Defeated. We're not all Ricky Morton.
Anyway, with that being said, we will see you next week. We will talk about the fallout from Payback. We'll talk about whatever's going on in WWE land, whoever the champion is. Is Roman Reigns the leader of Retribution? Is Bray Wyatt the champion, or is The Fiend the champion? That debate, we got that going on. And we will talk about AEW. I will put it over, and Pepper will bury it. All right, ladies and gentlemen. For Matt Pepper,
I'll put over some of it.
I am Derek. Hopefully we'll have Punga next week. We will see you next week.